All right, well, surprise, surprise, SMU gets blown out by Penn State. Surprise, surprise. Again, this is, if you didn't bet on this game, I don't know what you're doing. This was free money. Everyone knew that Penn State was going to win this game besides Joe Clayton, Danny Cannell. It's just like, it is what it is. This is just like how we talked about yesterday a lot, me and a lot of you guys in the comments. SMU, the talent wasn't there. They got simply outclassed. They looked much smaller to Penn State. Penn State definitely was faster. They were more agile, more athletic, stronger. They were just more talented. SMU, they got a lot of transfers from different programs out there. But at the end of the day, Penn State they're just the better team. They're just a better team. They're just a way better, more talented football team. And college football is a sport where for the majority of the time, the Joes are going to outweigh the X's and O's. Now, of course, you'll have situations where, like Vanderbilt beating Alabama, or Oklahoma blowing out Alabama in this instance, even though I think the talent gap is not even that, it's not that huge in my personal opinion. You may have a situation like a Purdue blowing out Ohio State, or an Iowa blowing out in Ohio State. You may have situations of, Ole Miss, they lost 3 times to unranked opponents, right? So you're going to have situations of upsets, right? Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame, that happened. But for the most part, especially in this stretch of the season, the playoffs, you're just not going to see these upsets. You're just not really going to see these upsets. TCU beat Michigan. They beat Michigan, but what else happened? Cincinnati, when they got their opportunity, and you can make an argument that Cincinnati was a better team than TCU because Cincinnati had a much better defense than TCU did. They had a much better defense than TCU did that year when they made it to the playoffs. And, Cincinnati got ran over for, 325 yards against Alabama. This is just going to be case in point in instances, guys, where once again, strength of schedule gets devalued. Strength of record gets devalued. All these other criteria points that the committee has pointed out gets devalued. And they go with the most deserving instead of the best team. And the College Football Playoff Committee, we have seen it. It has been an inconsistency of most deserving and who the best teams are. And they have kept using this excuse. They have kept using these different scenarios to get teams in every single year. Every year it's different. One year it's the best team. The other year it's the most deserving team. It's only when their backs are against the wall that they're faced with these sort of issues. Now, of course, there have been issues where it's pretty obvious who the 4 best teams are, or who are the best teams that should be in there, and there's no problem. But when their backs are against the wall, this is a committee that tends to panic. And it changes every year, right? It does change every year. But this is why I hate people actually doing this. They need to, something's got to change, guys. Something's got to change because the criteria continues to be changed and they're ruining the sport. Now, I'm not saying Alabama that Alabama's going to get in. Matter of fact, I've said this plenty of times. I think South Carolina should have got in. They were the most consistent out of the teams that were considered to be in there. Yes, they lost to Bama, but South Carolina has also had a tougher road. Let's be honest, they've had a tougher road. I liked how they finished, how they played the last 4 to 5 games of the year. I thought South Carolina should have been in. But I would have been fine with Alabama, Ole Miss, Miami, hell, even Miami to get in. Miami at least has an elite offense. They have Cam Moore and an elite receiving core. I would have took that because at least I know Miami can score points. They can't stop a defense worth a damn, but they can definitely score on anybody. And if you don't believe that Miami wouldn't score on Penn State, look at Oregon. I would say that Miami and Oregon are very similar in terms of, and I would say that they're very similar. And Penn State has gotten scored on. Penn State's offense, honestly, is, besides the run game, is average at best. So, I mean, the point is that I would have took either or of those teams to make this game at least slightly competitive. This game wasn't even slightly competitive. At least Indiana showed some grit, showed some fight. We couldn't even really see that from SMU. Jennings, who looked godly against Clemson. Yeah, another overrated program who's 0-2 against the SEC, by the way. I mean, he was terrible. It was terrible today. Their defense, which is probably one of the worst, which is probably, I would say, between the offense and defense, I would say their offense is better. The defense was the much stronger side. Like, you allow two pick sixes. And Penn State they were trying to give the game away. They were trying to give the game away. And SMU still got blown out. All those fourth down conversions, which SMU got the ball up to 23 times, and they still couldn't score? Like, what are we doing? So, listen, it is what it is, guys. There's got to be serious changes. It has to be. I think the one thing that's going to happen, they're going to expand this thing. This thing's going to go to 16 teams. And then it's going to go to 18 teams and 20 teams. It's going to continue to go up. Eventually, what is going to happen, there's going to be two conferences. You're going to have the SEC and the Big Ten Conference, the equivalent to the AFC and the NFC Conference, and then we're going to go from there. But I'm telling you this, we're literally going towards that direction. Because right now, this isn't the solution. This isn't the solution. And yes, I understand that wild card teams or teams get blown out in the playoffs. We understand that. But we all saw this coming. SMU didn't play Iowa. They didn't play Clemson in the regular season. They didn't play Miami in the regular season. Right? Like, three of the top four teams in the conference, they played one. And that was in the ACC championship game. The regular season was all sunshine and fucking daisies. And Indiana, Iowa, Illinois, Penn State, Oregon, they didn't play them. All they played was Ohio State. Like, how is that the determining factor for them to get into the college football playoff when they don't even have the resume to get in? They don't even have the strength of schedule, even remotely close to having a great strength of schedule to get in this thing. And again, I'm a Bama fan. If you want to exclude them out, that's fine. I would have been fine with Miami, Penn State, South Carolina for damn sure. South Carolina, Ole Miss. I would have been fine with either or of those schools. And yes, Texas, if they lose tonight, oh yeah, Texas, you're gonna be in this conversation because they didn't play anybody and they got in this thing. So this thing clearly isn't perfect. It's not even close to being perfect. And I don't know, guys. This thing is broken. The entire thing is broken. The auto bids, conferences, these conferences playing 8-9 games, it's not working. They got to increase the number of conference games so we can get more competitive games. And the committee has to incentivize strength of schedule because not all wins are equal. Not all wins are equal. But it is what it is, guys. I'm going to stop ranting and I'm going to get back to watching some football.